What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Awakening World. I'm your host, Love Coach Scott Katamas. You know, the Global Peace Tribe began almost 5 years ago. The first week of April 2020, the pandemic was just happening and social distancing was going on and nobody really quite knew what was happening. There was a lot of fear. And we were going to do a fundraising event live for our good friend Fantuzzi. And we realized because of social distancing, we had to switch it to an online show. And soon that first show was successful. And people say, hey, you know, let's gather together online while we're not able to get together in person. And the Global Peace Tribe was born. And from the very first show, our dedication was to inform and inspire. In tonight's show, I really want to emphasize that's what tonight is all about. I want to learn tonight. I'm here to learn from some women that I have tremendous respect for. And it's kind of magical how what happened. I had something else completely planned for today's show. It was going to be about love. It's Valentine's weekend. And I had a couple that, you know, are teachers of love. And I get a text this morning that something had come up for them and they felt terrible, but they were canceling. They couldn't do the show. And literally, I'm like, what am I going to do? Well, as fate would have it, once a month, there's this wonderful synergy group called Artists Catalyzing Evolution. And it's a number of people that are part of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle that are all artists. And today happened to be our once a month meeting. And so when it came to my turn of what's alive for me, I said, I don't know what I'm going to do for a show tonight. And something very magical came forward. Our beloved Piper Dellums, who's part of the show, or part of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, immediately jumped and said, well, Scott, I'll do something. And then Dr. Marty said, well, Scott, of course, I'd like to do something. And then we realized what really needed to be done was to talk about what's going on in our world. And Hallelujah, Anasuya brought that up. And this show evolved and a conversation began. And I began to become aware of things that I wasn't aware of. I'm aware that we've got a new presidential administration that is hit the ground running with a lot of new ways of doing things. And I've been concerned, you know, I try not to be political on the show, but obviously I've been concerned by what I'm watching. But these three women started to educate me at a whole new level. And a conversation began. And so tonight, we're going to continue that conversation. And so I want to thank Piper and Dr. Marty and Hallelujah Anasuya for coming in tonight. And it's interesting, it all happened so fast. We put together a poster, I sent out an email, and I realized this was such an important conversation. I've opened it up free of charge to everybody, and I'm noticing that we actually have a larger audience than usual. So, welcome everybody that's in the Zoom room with us. We look forward to hearing your thoughts, your comments, your questions. And of course, a big welcome to everybody watching out there on Facebook, YouTube, or those watching the recording. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to start. We will have a couple of Omashar songs tonight, but I'm going to go right into the conversation. And I'd like to give each of you 3 minutes just for your opening thoughts. And I'm only going to go in the order of who volunteered, because all three of you are equally important to me. So we're going to hear from Piper, your opening thoughts, then Dr. Marty, then Hallelujah Anasuya, and then we're going to go into conversation. We will have a couple of Omashar songs. So I'm turning it over to you to get us started, Piper. And we need you to turn on your sound.
First of all, hello, Global Peace Tribe family. It's lovely to see you all, to see all these beautiful faces. This really was an extraordinary coming together this afternoon and unexpected. And I think what I got out of the conversation initially was that although we have this global movement and we've dedicated our lives to coming together for peace and justice, and most of us call ourselves progressives and liberals, and we stand on the side of the environment and women and gay rights and human rights and African American and justice and Native American justice. But the reality is, oftentimes we stand on a platform where we have an embrace of that platform, and yet we haven't really stepped into the actualization of being in conference with those that are truly affected. We say that we're in conference with those that are truly affected, but we get to go about the routine of our days without recognizing what it actually would feel like besides an administration signing off human rights, if your human rights were stripped from you in those very moments. And do you really consider us as a global family? Are you considering how it's affecting the rainbow coalition of that global family outside of the doctrine of our political foundation and platform? And I think this is where the awakening of the conversation happened, because Scott was unaware that the huge position that I was supposed to get, and for most of you who know, I have my bachelor's from Berkeley, I have 2 master's degrees from NYU. I have my PhD in biochemistry. I was a CEO for 15 years and then 19 years. I have 15 published books, and yet they took away my contract 2 weeks ago. So now I am unemployed because I am now put on a DEI list. So now it's as if I am lesser than the position that I was stepping into, and I could do that position. I could run that university. And this was sort of one of the first gut punches to what this administration is actually doing. And what does that mean for someone like myself who's also going through a health condition? That also means that my medical is taken. Everything is taken all in the same avalanche of process because of the color of my skin. And so the conversation started there. And then we jumped off into other areas upon which people are attempting to get their voices out. And one of the things that was really beautiful is that Scott really opened up his arms and his heart to say, wow, I did not know, I did not personally understand the depth of impact that these types of political policies are actually having on my family, on global family, and on us as neighbors and friends and community. And so we're here to speak on that. We're here to speak on that for those that have survived the Holocaust, whose grandparents and great grandparents are still alive, who are wondering whether or not we're going to walk down a path that they had to endure as children. We're wondering how the Native American, the indigenous of our society, are going to deal with the possibility that their children being born on reservations no longer have American citizenship. We're going to deal with a community of immigrants that have put $3.2 trillion into our economy to assist our schools, our police, our neighborhoods, our infrastructure, what it means for them to be thrown out as cattle, as if they're nothingness to a society that is based upon immigration. We're going to see what it means where the equal opportunity destroyer of environmental degradation will mean to us all. But this conversation during Black History Month, which was also erased from Google, erased from all of the calendars, as well as Holocaust remembrance, as well as Native American remembrance, they've been deleted. And I walked into a store a week after losing my job based on the color of my skin and recognized that the CVS's and Targets and all of these stores have removed all healthcare products, skin products and hair products for African American people. So we're being erased. And then in Austin, Texas, they're already putting up white only signs on clothing stores and boutiques. So the fear is more than just a fear, it's a reality. And we thought we'd open up this conversation with our global family to make sure that we're all on the same page and one accord. How we assist each other through this process is in the knowledge of learning and learning from our pain, our experience, and the truth of our history, not what is told as our history, what the truth of our history is. And to end it, what I said to everyone today, slavery and Jim Crow and annihilation is not our history. That's colonizers' history. Our history was interrupted. You know, we come from a very different foundation of reality and science and structure and education and village and community and family. And that's what we're stepping back into. So for Black History Month, I want to make sure that we are resurrecting who we are, not what was done to us. And that's why I'm here today.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, we're going to go to Marty in just a moment. Thank you so much, Piper, for getting us started. And we're going to, of course, today hear much more from Piper. When she was referencing DEI, literally one of the very first things, first couple of days, the new administration removed anything having to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion. It was a shocking, I mean, that was something I noticed. It was like, wow, really? That's like the first thing you're going to do? Now, what that shocked me, but the impact that hits our family is that Piper lost a job because of that. So literally, it's reversing. It's an out and out attack on people of color. So you know, I'm sure you've heard the whitewashing of America has begun with this administration. So anyway, we're now going to hear from Dr. Marty Casey. And Dr. Marty, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Wow, thank you so much, Scott, for having all of us. I unfortunately my frame had frozen and I had to leave and come back in, so I missed a little bit of what Piper was speaking about. But the good news is I know Piper enough to know that I know she spelled it all out, so it's not a whole lot for me to have to say in terms of you all understanding why it's so important for us to gather tonight. So I just want to add just a little bit. We can call this Black history, but I think that you're going to really hear more about Black her story, because we as women, we are coming and we're coming with our truth and we're coming, with our respect, with our love, and with our power to share with our family in a safe space. And we feel like it's necessary to be here to have this hard conversation, because sometimes it is very difficult to talk about things that we may not all relate to especially when we're speaking about things that are culturally infused. And so it doesn't take anything away from anyone who is listening. And when you hear us say Black, and when you hear us speak about our race, and when you hear us speak about DEI, DEI really shouldn't even be a thing. I'm gonna be honest with you. It shouldn't even have to be a thing. It became a thing because we noticed that we were not welcomed into spaces. We were not equal in spaces. We were not even given the same opportunity in spaces. I'm going to give you an example when I say that DEI, in a sense, in my opinion, is not necessary, because Scott has DEI on this show. but you've never heard him speak about it. He just automatically includes it in everything that he does, or we wouldn't be on here speaking right now. He knows that our voices and our presence is just as powerful as anyone else's at any given time. And so when you automatically have that in your heart, and you make that a part of your lifestyle, then it doesn't have to necessarily be a part of your framework. But what's sad is that when we look at stores where we shop, stores where we put our we put our money, and our dollar is powerful. I like to say often that black dollars count. Our money means something in this country. We don't pay less taxes because we're black. We pay the same amount as anyone else. And so therefore, it's really sad that we have to have extra these extra pieces of framework in place just so that we feel included and safe and respected. The really reason that I wanted to come on here tonight is that social media has just exploded after Super Bowl Sunday, the halftime especially, and we'll come back to that. But I wanted to just get your mind in the framework of why we feel this is necessary, because we've seen so many people speak about that halftime show and for various reasons. And we want to make this a safe space to where if you have any questions, and we can't speak for Kendrick Lamar, and we don't speak for everyone in our culture and our race, but I believe that we can at least answer some questions or some thoughts that you may have. And we wanted to make sure that we did that because this is not the time in Black History Month or any time of the year for that matter, for us to divide. This is the time for us to link arm in arm, stand stronger together now more than ever, and stand up to those bullies that want to divide us, want to say that because you don't look like me or we don't have the same DNA, uh, that we can't come together and build and be. I don't know about you, but I'm going to stand for something so I don't just fall for anything. And that is the reason that I thank you, Scott, for allowing us to come and talk to our family tonight. Thank you.
Mm, thank you very much. And perhaps Hallelujah, honestly, you might answer the question. Matt is asking what happened. I don't follow football, and I'm sure many of our people don't know what happened during the Super Bowl. So either Hallelujah, who's next, or anybody, Marty or Piper, you can share a little bit about it if you feel so inspired. However you want to use your time tonight.
God, is it possible that I just say something to what Dr. Marty said very quickly so that it's not forgotten?
Sure.
So Dr. Marty spoke about DEI. I want to make something very clear about what DEI is. DEI has established 87% of DEI goes to Caucasian women. White women are the number one people that have benefited from DEI. What's happening now is that they're using the word DEI now to reference ethnicity, but that is not why DEI was established. Sort of like the suffragettes. With the suffragettes, it was all about women get the right to vote. But if you were Black, you did not have that right because you could only vote if you could own land. So only white women were benefited in the right to vote as well. So DEI was not made for us. It's only now being titled over us to say you don't have the accomplishment, the expertise, the literacy, the academia, or the ability to take on a job that we believe a white man can take. So DEI is taking on a very different definition than actually what it is. We are the last group to actually have any access to DEI. DEI has only served 7% of African Americans. It serves white women first, then it serves Asian, the community second, and then it serves disabilities, people in wheelchairs with other disabilities. African Americans come last. But no one in those first three categories have lost are losing their positions, and no nonprofits are being shut down that are catering to those groups.
Thank you, Piper, for, again, there's so much we have to learn. And we're going to go to Hallelujah, Anasuya in a moment. I'm going to read two quick comments that I think reflect what's beginning to go on in our chat box. And just a reminder that if you hear something different than your belief, we're going to treat everybody with respect tonight. And I'm really proud. It's so rare that anybody even says something disrespectful in our chat box. I love our tribe, and I love that we are one family, and we are one global peace tribe. So we are going to keep it peaceful. I want to read what Karen S. Karen has been with us from the very, very beginning. She literally came to our very first show. And she writes, I mentioned these things on this show a few weeks ago. I grew up in the Jim Crow South, and I do not want to return to having to live that way. If everyone had been treated equally in the first place, there would have been no need for the civil rights movement or affirmative action or other DEI initiatives. So, thank you, Karen. That's a really good point. And then the other one that that's just a question. Carol Craig writes, how can anyone be against DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion? It's such to those of us in the Global Peace Tribe, in our way of thinking, it's so like, of course, but we have a very different administration in now. All right. I'm really looking forward to hearing what Hallelujah Anasuya has to say. So thank you for your patience and welcome.
Thank you, Scott, for having us and for providing this space so gloriously. I thank my sisters who came before me in speaking and opened up this portal with so much love and tenderness for ourselves and for the global community that has joined us here today and will when they watch the recording. I'm Anasuya. Some of you know me and some of you don't. I'm so grateful to be in your presence tonight as I am grappling with so many challenges of being Black woman in America. Oof. But I will start with something easy. I'll start by picking up the thread that Dr. Marty and Piper just laid regarding the diversity, equity, and inclusion policies that are being erased one by one, first from the federal government, and then all of the companies following suit by removing their affirmative action programs and removing their DEI programs. And when we say history is written by the conquerors, this is an example of that. Because like Piper said, these programs were not intended for us, though they said they were. Affirmative action and DEI is just one of the programs that were part of affirmative action. Affirmative action is the larger umbrella. And so the Supreme Court allowed that to be taken from this country. And one of the places it didn't remove it was DEI. Oh, well, no, that's the case. And I say that because I really want to expand on who benefited from it. Because DEI was intended to make sure, and affirmative action was intended to make sure that people who are in wheelchairs could have ramps, that the blind could have sidewalks and special buttons on the traffic lights to say they could hear because they couldn't see when the light changed. It's designed for people who are gay or in that community that didn't have the ability to say who they are or to be who they are. I'm not even talking marriage, because when it was founded, marriage was not even an issue. They couldn't be together publicly. They couldn't say what they wanted. They couldn't share their mate, their beloved, on their will or taxes or anything. DEI was created for veterans to actually be able to come back and not be discriminated against because they had new limitations. It was created for people with neurodiversity to not be discriminated. Kids with not sickle cell, Down syndrome, to be able to get a job and not be laughed at. DEI was created for Native Americans to actually be seen as American and have access. But that's not the story that Conqueror tells. The Conqueror tells it's for Black people. They've been taking over. They've been getting your jobs. They've been taking your positions. They've been getting stuff unfairly only because they had to. They were forced to because they were Black. They had to take them. They're not qualified. And America bought it. And it wasn't. And the proof is, of the 100% of the DEI pie, 7% went to Black people. I think Native Americans are close to us, 8%. Then you have Latinos, and then you have gays, veterans, disabled, Asian, white. And that white includes white men CEOs. Now, how are they a minority? I don't know. So I just wanted to round out the picture of really what the truth is, because you'll never hear it from the conqueror of what DEI really, who benefited from it, because we would not have the kind of society we have if Black people didn't march, demand, sacrifice, be martyred. If we hadn't stood up that everybody's lives matter, those policies wouldn't exist. And now they're using those same policies to say, no, you don't matter anymore. We don't want to be reminded of our history. We don't want to be reminded of, and I say our history because slavery, Jim Crow, all that is white people's history. It's what happened. That's what they did. That's their conquering. That's not my history. That's just what my people have endured and survived. But they don't want to be reminded of slavery. They don't want to be reminded of their white privilege. They don't want to be reminded of any of that. So everything that does is being erased. White is right. Everything's great. We're fine. You did nothing wrong. Go ahead and benefit from your privilege. It's all great. That's what's happening. History books are going to be rewritten. Books that tell the truth will be burned. They're already banned. The next step is burning them. People's freedom are being lost. Piper gave one beautiful and painful example of how it hits her smack dab in an opportunity that was her earned position. There are people who, the people who are going into work and are being ostracized because they say, well, Trump's in office now. We don't have to like you. We don't have to sit with you. We don't have to have you here. We don't even have you near us. Saying it out the mouth. This is not written down, okay, people? This is people a week ago you were sitting next to and everything was cool. Coffee, all that, water fountain. Not that, no, gone. These are people who used to be able to, these are my friends who used to be able to go into certain neighborhoods and stores that have been already told, don't come back. Out of someone's mouth. Now, the fact that in Austin, Texas doesn't surprise me. They have signs that says no coloreds. Wow. The feeling of being threatened is real. The feeling of losing life and limb is real. The misbelief that something has been taken from people because they were white, that lie is real. People do believe it. These are truths. But how far does it go? Because DEI also is part of Title IX, which allows women to participate in sports and all kinds of things. That, what, are they going to now take away women's sports? Are they going to take away, what I don't even want to know how far this goes. Because we'll just turn on the TV tomorrow and see what Trump signs now. Now, it is so easy to get wrapped up in fear. Like, what's he going to take next? Oh, what do you know? I'm gay. Is he coming after me? But I'm white. Oh, or maybe he will be. Oh, I'm a veteran. Is he coming after me? But I'm white. I should be safe. Maybe. You know, it's just like that poem that was written during the time of the World War II when it said they came for the Jews, but I said nothing. And they took them away. And then they came for the communists, and they came from the industrialists, and they came for the workers. But when they came for me, there was nobody left to speak up for me. So as long as people believe that these policies are just for Black people, against Black people, they will continue to do nothing and say nothing. But I've seen people who voted for Trump whose wife or husband was deported. I've seen people who voted for Trump who were on planes, East Indians, who are the backbone of our engineering and science world, deported. I've seen people who Arabs for Trump who were like, what you're doing in Gaza? What? So everyone who thought he wouldn't touch them because they weren't Black, well, give it time. Because if you're not in the 1%, and if you're not bowing at his feet in an egregious way, if you are not praising him, yep, you're on the list. You're on one of these lists. He's got so many lists. And his first 100 days will be unforgettable. What is he now? Only like 30 days in? I don't know what he's in, but oof. Oh, January 6th. Okay, yeah. So he's, a little over 30 days. We're in for a ride. And what I appreciate about Scott's opening this forum weekly, before this happened, before he got reelected, you know, to having conversations about all the different ways we can bring peace and bring songs about it and bring conversations about it, whether it's peace through environmental action and food, whether it's peace by learning science, whatever the way that we've been addressing peace in this circle. You know, I'm inviting us to understand that the house is on fire. The house you live in is on fire. You may not smell the gas yet, but as someone whose house is visibly on fire, and I'm looking for the windows to jump out to save myself, all houses are on fire. You just may not know it. And this is the time to not only have open dialogue with one another about these issues, but it's also the time to take action. This is not the time to be silent. This is not the time to be silent. There are 3 races, special elections coming up next month, 3 seats. And 2 are in Florida, but it doesn't matter where they are. We can all be a part of calling people, writing letters, be a part of mobilizing. We can even go there and mobilize, because if we turn those 3 seats, they will no longer have a majority. We don't have to wait for 2 years of midterm elections. And we need to start working on the midterm elections now, because the Republicans have already started working on the midterm elections for 2 years from now. We need that. We need to be in action that matters. And one is having difficult conversations. One is being able to speak up for somebody in a store when you see them being treated like shit. One is having the courage to step up and say, don't do that. Because it might get scary to stand up for justice. It probably will. And I'm here to say, speak even though your voice trembles. Because all of our lives are in danger. And all of us have the power when we come together to save our lives. We are the solution. We are the saviors. We are the rescuers. We are the ones. Can we count on each other? Can I count on you? This is what this conversation means to me tonight. So
Can we add something to that?
Sure.
Such a big embrace to you for your vulnerability. and just to to recognize that we can literally feel. I feel the pain. Obviously, I share it, but I also see it and feel it, and I almost wanted just take. I almost wanted to just almost reach through the camera just to hold you and hold you and hold the ancestors, because I feel the pain of the ancestors. There is something else that is really important to add that is outside of the political process. When we talk about what is there to do, I think there also needs to be the reminder that the situation that's happening now is nothing new.
Mhm.
This is not Donald Trump. This is 56% of America.
Mhm.
So let's keep that in mind as we point the fingers at one. People were in alignment with what was happening and what was going to happen. And we
Mhm.
need to have a foundation of understanding why that is, why that was. And it goes all the way back to the beginning, because what we're seeing now is a culmination. We have been dealing with, there was never an end to slavery, and there was never an end to Jim
Right.
Crow. There was never an end to the breaking down of women's rights or women's bodies belonging to themselves. These things have been inherently rooted deeply in our society from the beginning. A privatized prison that is putting Black men in prison on a three strikes law because they have a joint, and so now they've been caught with marijuana three times and they're now life in prison. And yet everyone in Hollywood and everyone behind their doors from here to Beverly Hills is smoking weed. What's happening is those young Black men in mass numbers are now imprisoned and they become free labor. That's slave labor. Privatized prisons is another form of slavery. So let's keep in mind some aspects that none of this has gone away. We were being used for generations, my grandmothers for generations, whether they were African, African American, or Native American. We were also physical experiments. Keep in mind that they're still arresting doctors, even as far as Manhattan, arresting doctors that place themselves specifically in Black and Latina communities, as the beloved gynecologists who spent 45 years doing pap smears on Black and Latina girls, and they found out that they had sterilized them all. They have been sterilizing Black and Latina women and Native American women privately and on purpose since the 1930s, but they're still arresting people in New York. Let's keep in mind of the doctors that were just arrested that told all of these women of color that they had cancer when they didn't, so that he could reap money from putting them through chemotherapy and removing their organs. Let's keep in mind what's really going on outside of the body politic. We have Amber Alerts that go on. We know how many white young girls have been go missing. We know that 7,200 Native American girls have gone missing that no one's looking for. Do you know how many African American girls are missing right now?
I was
172,000.
going to say,
And
over 150,000.
2,000 of our daughters are missing, and there's not an after school special. There's not a movie of the week. It's not on the front page of People magazine, and there's not one goddamn Amber Alert that's ever been sent out because we don't matter.
Thank you.
Our daughters don't matter. So this is another one of the realities. This is more than the body politic. This has been going on forever. Let's keep in mind we have this thing called liberal Hollywood. I'm a part of it. I'm a filmmaker. But the fact of the matter is every single a way that a Black person has been represented from Hollywood is created from Hollywood, and those that built and are the foundation of Hollywood. So this is why we've been the Stepin Fetchits and the I don't know nothing about birth and no babies. And this is why we've been gangbangers and killers and hookers and whores, and always, the fat, funny friend, and never the interest unless there's a Black producer or director, because our stories are not being told. Our stories aren't being told because if we tell our stories, then we're standing in a place of intellectualism and power and regality. There's no other reason to burn all of Maya Angelou's books and ban her. She was once the poet laureate of the United States of America, and now she's banned. There's no reason to ban, Zora Neale Hurston, to ban all African American literature. There's no reason to ban it except to stop the voice of truth, the voice of wisdom, the voice of intellectualism, and to stop our stories. And the critical race theory, this is also an attack on Black people and Native American people, because the fear is it's not good to teach our sweet, innocent, children things like about slavery or about except we're going to push the Bible, where the Bible has rape, the Bible has murder, the Bible has war, the Bible has incest. The Bible is one of the most violent pieces of literature. They crucified Jesus in one of the most horrific ways. That's a horror film. But if you tell the truth about our history, or truth about a homosexual, or the truth about anything that's outside, then it's too terrifying, and the young children should not be able to read it or learn it. And yet, our young children were able to pick cotton at the age of 2 and 3, were able to be lynched and beaten and raped and sold and bought at the age of 2 and 3. Our children in Congo, and I lived all over Africa, that's 10 million. We had a greater Holocaust than anyone else in the world in
That's right.
Congo. People think it's beautiful that Congolese Africans speak French. It's not beautiful. That was King Leopold stepping into there, taking over 1 million acres of land and forcing every single Congolese African into the rubber trade, and mutilating, chopping off the hands and feet of 10 million people and murdering 10 million people. And no one knows that story. Have you seen Hollywood put that story out? I've seen 18,000 Holocaust stories, but never one on our Holocaust. What I'm trying to say in that conversation is that it's not about who's going to be voted into office. It's about our coming together as a family to say, let's tell the truth about who we are, about our history, about our fears, our pain, and what's really happening, so that we can all embrace each other as the body of humanity, so that we understand that Anne Frank in an attic, that we also have Anne Franks in an attic, and Fernando Diaz is in an attic, and whoever else has to hide.
Piper, I love you so much. And I want to share, I want to give equal time. And so much of what you're saying, we just need to, it takes, you just rattled off so many shocking things, some of which I see Hallelujah on Asuya nodding her head knowing, most of which we didn't know. So I want to take a moment to integrate that. And I want to give Marty and Anasuya a chance to speak. And also Dr. Ivy Shadia has joined us, and I want to give her some time also. And Piper, I love you and everything you said.
I love you. I knew it was going to be crazy and passionate, and I'm going to zip it.
So, no, it's not about zipping, but I want to hear from Dr. Marty, and then I want to give Dr. Ivy Shadia a chance to share.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you all for everything that has been said today. I just want to reiterate what my sisters have already spoken on, that telling our stories, this is so important right now. But we have to know the stories in order to tell them, and we have to allow those who live the stories to be the ones to have the voice to tell the stories. So it's important for us to advocate in that way. But even moving beyond telling the stories, what can we do right now?
Mhm.
And this is where I would like to bring all of us who have decided to be in this room, in this space at a time such as this. I would like to hear from you in the chat, if you can. And I would like for each of us to think of one thing that we can do to make a difference, and that we hold each other accountable in doing this. Sometimes we have to write the vision down and make it plain. We have to see it collectively. We have to own it personally. And we can tell you all day long what it's like for us to be Black in America. You will never know when we finish telling our story. You will never know. But the telling the story is important. I'm with Piper 1000%. But right now, I need to know, what are you willing to do?
That's right.
What are you
Action
willing to
time.
do?
Mhm.
Because this is the time where action has to happen. It has to happen. And it's going to take more than just Black people speaking up for Black people. We need you now more than ever. And we need you beyond just being a face in this space. We need you speaking up for us when we're not even around to hear it. We
Yes,
need you standing up and making a difference at Target and Walmart and all those spaces and places that says that what we've created isn't good enough for a shelf. We need you to not go to those stores and spend your dollars.
that's right.
We
Or
have
cents.
to stand together. What are you willing to do? And I yield now and turn it over to Dr. Ivy as I read the chat as you put those things in from a passionate place. And thank you.
And I'd like to read something that's in the chat already before Dr. Ivy comes on, because it's really important what Patrick Linehan said. I'm going to read it just so he doesn't have to find it. But Patrick said, my friend who is mixed Mexican and Native American, whose husband is Black, and whose kid is trans, the only woman of color at her workplace, was fired from her job today because she posted a pro Black History Month post on her Facebook page.
Jesus.
Because her white female supervisor, who worships the ground Trump walks on, saw her post and didn't like it. She complained it was anti-white. I saw the post and it was not anti-white in the slightest. And yet she's fired. So just want to, that's already in the chat. So I didn't want us to skip over that.
That's really good. Thank you so much for reading it, and we probably need to read the some of the others out loud in between time. But this is where the work has to be done. See, that hearing that story should empower us to now say, what can we do? How can we help? Like, we have to be able to create what they're taking away. We have to use our spaces and our voices and our energy to come together to create now new spaces for those things to be available. So if I can't put my Black dowels on the shelf at Target, maybe I can put those Black dowels here in the frame once a week. If we created something to where this becomes a pop-up store and we invite individuals to come on and to show their product, and then we order from them directly. Maybe if they're going to cut out all the federal grants and now Show Me Arts Academy, my nonprofit that I started after Ferguson hit, and all of the work that I do as an activist, maybe because I can't receive funding that way, maybe there's someone out here to say, you know what, I know a rich family, Dr. Marty, that would be willing to pour into all of you all if you created something together and made this a massive thing. So this is where we need your help, because I don't know who you know, and I can't do what you do. But now that you know that we are all under attack, this is how we can fight back and be powerful and not do the same to them as they've done to us,
I
but
have,
actually lead with love and show them how to be better.
yes.
Yes.
I just want to add one thing. Pop, pop, pop. And I have a memory challenge, y'all. I had a traumatic brain injury. So when I say I have to share, I will forget. So sorry. But another ways that you can help is support us. Support us is also sponsoring a kid going to a historically Black college. Because of all of the persecution that's been happening, enrollment in historically Black colleges have gone up in the last few years because so much discrimination and hate has been happening on white campuses that these students have taken refuge in each other in our Black spaces. And Trump has initiated the defunding of these schools because a lot of their endowment came from the federal government to right or wrong. You weren't allowed in the white schools, but you can have your own schools, and we'll even help you get them running so that you can stay there and not come over to us. And so now Trump has found out that that's happening, and he's defunding, taking away all the money that those schools get. So many students won't be able to go to school anymore because there is no funding for the endowments being taken, scholarships are being taken, the Pell Grants are being taken, the loans that come from the government, FAFSA and the other ones that are government run. He's taking them all away. And this is a travesty. So that's also a way to help.
So just anchoring this in for a moment. First of all, everything all of you are saying is important. And as the ringmaster, I'm just trying to make sure everybody gets an equal chance. And yes, I commit that we are going to use the Global Peace Tribe and the Awakening World shows to increase our education. Let us know what are the Black businesses that we can buy product from. We will open this up as a marketplace and whether it's Black or anybody within Global Peace Tribe. If you have a product or a service and you're part of Global Peace Tribe, let me know about it. We'll start promoting it. And that is how we will, one little way to support each other. Certainly let us know the things that we can vote on. Let us know who to support and who not to support. So, and this is a call to everybody, not just our presenters.
Yeah, because this is public
thank you.
knowledge. You can find out on your own. You really can find these things out on your own.
Absolutely. Carol Craig, I want to acknowledge you. You've already put a lot of very valuable information into the chat box about which companies are still standing behind DEI and which ones are caving in. We need to know those things. So this is just the start of it's a new year, it's a new administration, and it's a new series of roles for the Global Peace Tribe. So I just want to anchor that in and turn it over to Dr. Mama Ivy, Reverend Shadia, she whom we love. I'm putting the spotlight on you.
I want to sing for all the broken hearts of the world. I want to sing them back together. I want to sing for all the broken hearts of the world. I want to sing them back together. I give you love. I give you love. I give you love. I give you love. I want to sing them back together. I felt to share that because I was feeling hearts in this time that we're living in, which is really on so many levels a blessing to be able to witness the power of the light. To me, that is what is happening. For me, what is happening is the light is pouring into our atmosphere and lighting it up, showing it up, releasing the truth, unveiling the veil, lifting the energy into a space where a community like this has spent our lifetimes preparing for. This is it. And somehow our heart still feels broken. or our heart still feels concerned on some levels. But I think for me, in my experience, even as a Black woman, here in America, I realize that because of racism in America, it was just the way I was raised. So it was not new to me to understand what that means to make it great again. That was very clear to me. But I realized that there are so many more that is not clear too. You know, and I think about my own personal experience as a Black woman in America. I can't begin to explain how many systems impacted my life, my whole family, my whole experience. However, as a world traveler, I realized that living in America is different than living in many other places in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So realizing if we can take a global eye at what I heard my beautiful sister sharing, that this is not about Black people, it's not about people of color, it is about humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I don't feel unsafe, I came up here into the mountains of Virginia where anything Democratic had big shotgun holes in it, literally. And then I began to realize where I am. So it is very true that we don't walk the earth the same way as I did last year this time. And no one can understand that. No one can even comprehend that. And it's really clear that I'm on the other side of the generation gap too, because I saw what was going on this weekend, but I didn't get it until later. I didn't put it all together until later. But it was clear that it was a global statement. So we're in the midst of the light. This is the light showing up on different levels. And we talk about living in various dimensions. And I realized that we're living on so many dimensions right here on earth. But for us as light workers, we have to elevate.
Mm-hmm.
It's really clear whatever is going on inside of our hearts right now, even about this. It's not about Black people. It just happens to be voices of Black women telling the story, stepping up. Ashe.
Thank you very, very much.
Scott, I have to respond to something that's in the chat, and then I'm going to shut my camera off because I'm really emotional about it. Sorry. I don't know who Heidi is, and I don't know who you are. I embrace you as an individual. But to have someone write, "The Holocaust never happened, I hear it's a lie," in this chat. My in-laws are Holocaust survivors. Sorry. I'm disgusted that anyone would have the audacity to write in this chat something so cruel and deceptive. There are people on this platform with family members, grandparents, and great-grandparents that went through the Holocaust. And to be on a forum where we're speaking about the pain and suffering of racism and bigotry, and to think that it's okay to write something like that in this chat box in the Global Peace Tribe, I am just disgusted. And for every one of my Jewish sisters and brothers who may be here and on this platform right now who read that, I am sorry. I am sorry for you, for your families, for your ancestors, for all of our family members who survived. And I just had to say that, Scott, because
Sure.
I don't know who that is, but that does not belong in this forum.
Piper, of course, like everybody, was shocked when I saw that. And I I want to make it clear I have no attack, and there's no attack energy for Heidi who wrote that. I interpret that that happened in our chat to help inform us of how easily sometimes misinformation can be taken seriously. Now, of course, all the people that I've spotlit, we all know there was a Holocaust. Of course, we know that. But that there actually is someone, and Heidi has been on the show. I've heard her before. She's a real human being, and I don't think she wrote it to my interpretation is that it's reminding us of how easily misinformed people can be.
Mm.
And it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that someone can believe that. But it's a reminder of that we're living in a time where lies that are so blatant can be accepted as truth by an intelligent human being. That's how I choose to interpret that. So I don't want to make it about Heidi doing something bad or wrong, but for us to go, wow, isn't that something?
So I think, Scott, I just think that this is a conversation that is really, really needed. And I think that the more that we have this kind of a conversation, perhaps it is a way of combating misinformation,
Yeah.
is having an opportunity to have a conversation. When somebody said something to me the other day that made, I was like, wow, where in the world was that? It was like if it's people that don't see color, but somehow they saw all this color over the weekend. So it's because of what was going on, on that stage. And I'm not somebody that watches football, so I didn't know about it. But this performance that took place, it's like if everybody can see color or can't see color, what is the big problem here? Well, it's because the truth of the matter is we do see color. We do feel color.
Yeah.
We understand color in the way that we live. I mean, as a child, I used to have to go to Girl Scouts where my sister and I were the only black children. And the girls in there, they just wanted to touch my hair and touch my skin. And even as a child, here I am, with grandchildren that have children. I still feel like crying about it.
Mhm.
I want to um I want to just say that hurt people, healed people heal people. And we stand and we come into this room today to create a safe place so that we all can work on our healing. We cannot speak from a place of hurt. I don't care what you've heard and how you heard it and when you heard it. I think it's really important for all of us to stop, breathe, and think about what it is we say and we type before we put it into the chat, before we even speak these things out loud, because we all are here being very vulnerable and very open and honest, and we come in love. We want to speak in love and we want to leave in love. So I appreciate Heidi saying that she's open for a conversation and apologizes. And we accept, we do. I will say I accept your apology if that's what that is in this moment. But I really encourage you, Heidi, and everyone else, including myself, that we really, before we say and write something in the chat, think about how it would be if it was reversed, if there was something that was being said about you that you believe in or that you have gone through, and what that would feel like on the other end to receive it. And again, That is why this conversation, Scott, was so important to have tonight. And we probably need to have a couple of more conversations
Absolutely.
moving forward. That's why Black History Month, her story may need to be a monthly thing where we come in at least,
Absolutely.
once a week. I mean, once a month to come in
Absolutely.
and we talk about these things. Because if this is something that, and I am not trying to isolate Heidi, but just in general, if you would say something like this in the chat in a safe space, knowing this type of framework that we're in, what are we saying in the world? What are we saying to our neighbors? What are we saying on our jobs? So I'm gonna flip this a little bit and I'm gonna say, Heidi, thank you. Thank you for speaking. So we know exactly what it is we need to fix.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because if we don't have people like Heidi and others making the mistake here with us, and we be open enough to receive it in an adult way of healing, then and Piper, I so told you, baby, I thank you for expressing the way that you did, because while you was expressing, it allowed me to calm down. I said I didn't see it. And when I read it, I'm like, I'm glad Piper saw it first. So I want to say thank you, sister, for saying that. But we want to allow you all to say or ask whatever question you need to, because I would rather for you do it here with me and we help to guide you in the right way than for you to take that back outside, because that's where we don't need it.
Yeah.
We got to fix this right here. And
Thank you.
Scott, this is not your responsibility, but brother, the fact that you have this type of platform where you're pulling both sides and individuals from all over the world, we have to have a space like this where we can have these conversations. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
So yes, we are going to do this at least once a month.
Woo.
I brought Reverend Retta up. She's also part of our Artists Catalyzing Evolution. I don't know, Reverend Retta, if you wish to speak or if you wish to lead a prayer, because she gives really good prayer. But there's no pressure, but I also wanted to invite you to share in whatever way you feel called to.
Thank you. I off mute?
Yes, we hear you.
Yes, you are. Peace and blessings, everyone. I think what I would love to do first, thank you, Scott, for an opportunity to join this very important, impactful conversation. Thank you to each of the women, to Anasuya, to Dr. Ivy, to Marty, Dr. Marty. Thank you so much for the depth and power of the truth that you speak. Your perception for me is medicine tonight, right? We speak these truths. And I left out Piper. Yeah, thank you, Piper. Thank you for that passion. Gosh, it is sometimes hard to hear, but it is medicine when the truth is spoken. It has the potential to be medicine when we have to start in that truth. So I just want to thank you all. I would like to invite everybody on this call to take a deep breath with me. And let's take another, if you will. Whew. And I'm going to take one more where I make some sound. Take a nice, deep, nourishing breath and make some sound as I release that breath. So I would love to share with you just a moment some of the things that I'm thinking about and cultivating in this extraordinary moment on the planet, devastating / extraordinary moment on the planet, right? The framework that I am watching and listening from is that we are in a kind of quickening. This is a time of deep quickening. I think there's lots of possibilities for now. You know, if we can courageously stand on behalf of each other if we can walk and lead in love, if we can come from love, speak to love on behalf of love, right? If we can hold up community and get with those we do feel both safe and bold, right? We can be held in love, held in accountability, right? If we can nurture each other, if we can identify that which is ours to do in terms of healing, it may be possible that this is a quickening that will allow us to rise in ways that we couldn't have imagined. But y'all, what is also true is that we could not survive as a species. This is not sustainable. The level of pain and devastation that's happening both to human beings and our beautiful mama earth, right? It's not sustainable, right? So I don't know which way the quickening will go. But for me and my house, we're going to stand on love. We're going to stand on the possibility. And I want to act from this place of love. And so, what I want to offer is to invite you into two spiritual practices. I think that's my calling and purpose during this time, is to help support people to grow and cultivate the spiritual depth, fortitude, scaffolding that can help us to manage one foot in front of the other in love, one day to the next in love, one month to the next, and I'm not at all talking about spiritual bypassing. I think for some people it may kind of sound like it. But one of the spiritual, I want to just mention two practices. One that I'm cultivating, I can't teach it as a master because I'm learning it, right? Is this ability to hold the really heavy heart alongside the spiritual truth of who we are, right? So as each one of my sisters were speaking, I'm breathing deeply and listening and feeling the heartbreak of these stories I've heard all my life, and they break my heart every time I hear them, right? But to allow my heart to break, but also to remain tethered to the truth that we are made of stars. Every fucking breath we take is a miracle. That when I wake up in the morning and the sun is rising, I say, thank you, life, thank you, life. I got to be here another day. Like, that is also truth. So one of the spiritual practices that I'm cultivating is the ability to hold both what is challenging and difficult right alongside the truth of how extraordinary we have the potential to be. And quite frankly, in the midst of a lot of this, many of us are connecting to people, having great compassion, trying to identify the things that we can do during this time, standing up and being allies. I want to believe, and I know in my bones that people intend that on this call. I don't think you'd be here if you didn't intend to do some of those things. So I believe, and I'm going to declare and claim and stand in this truth that I want to live into, and I want to live into with you, that this is the possibility, the potential of a time of quickening toward our potential as humans who are whole and can live from being healed, and that there is an earth and beauty and challenge enough so that generations down the road, with our Native American sisters and brothers talk about 7 generations forward. Like, I want to live with that in my bones, in my purview, in my awareness. I want to act from that place, right? So I mentioned 2 spiritual practices. I want to invite you into that, holding what's really difficult and holding also a tether to how extraordinary we are. And even if we look out and we don't see people behaving that way in this moment, right, that we hold that as a possibility in the field of our being, that comes from us, that's in the way we connect and how we speak to each other. And the other spiritual practice I want to mention, and I'm passionate about this, is a grief practice. every day we ought to be finding some way to be in touch with what is challenging, what is difficult, what is hard. We ought to find some people we feel safe to cry with, hold my hand and know my heart in the depth of the thing that is going on. Because good Lord of mercy, how much can we stand, right? We haven't grieved yet. COVID, right? They're just layers, and Sister Piper listed just thing after thing. All of my sisters just listed thing after thing, where if we could cry a river about each one of those things individually, right? So I believe that grief as a practice, to normalize grief. If you love deeply, you're gonna grieve, right? It is a normal thing that happens, and we don't heal or release from it. If we live on this planet, we're gonna grieve from the time we take a breath to the time we leave, right? So can we get in relationship with grief? Can you find a grieving partner? Can you set a timer? And some of these really difficult things, sit and let yourself feel the heaviness and cry. And when that timer goes off, you find some practices that help you bring yourself back to the surface. I have friends who read poetry, they go put on music that they love, go out and hug a tree, put your feet on the ground. But let's get in touch with those deep feelings, right? Find a partner, somebody you can tell the stories to, and y'all can grieve together. Find some grief circles. Find the work. I just invite you, I implore you to find ways to bring grief into your life as a practice to help so that we can find our joy. Joy is a form of resistance, right? When we get on calls like this and Scott invites us to remember what peace and light and grace and power are, when we get to do that, that's important for our healing. But we also need the other side. We need to be in touch with our grief. We need to hear the stories that we have heard on this call. We need to learn how to metabolize those truths so they don't bring us down and we can't act, right? So I'm going to stop there, but I'm appreciating an opportunity to join this very important work. I love you all. Oh, God, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you so much. Oh, I just love you so much. This is a hard time, but together, we keep together, we're going to be able to do some things and move through it. Ashe, amen.
Reverend Retta, what's extraordinary, we are in such a flow. Look at what our show is already planned for this Saturday night: love, grief, and resilience.
Yes.
That's what we're doing on Saturday night. My
Very important.
host, Sandra Buffington, lost her home last month in the Palisades fire. She's my co-host. Gary Malkin, who just came into our Zoom room, literally as I'm saying Gary Malkin, he came into the Zoom room. There is a fascinating something happening here. The fact that at the last minute my show was canceled today, and this most important, probably the most important show we've ever done, emerges, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to turn it over to Omar Shar, just so we have a moment to integrate. And there's so much going on in the chat box that's so important. And then after Omar Shar's song, I'm going to bring up everybody and give everybody in order an opportunity to share for a couple of minutes what's most alive for you. Tools, practices. Reverend Retta, you did a great example of giving us a tool that we can use. So anyway, I'm going to turn over to beloved Omar Shar, and then we'll hear from Piper, and then Reverend Marty, and then from Hallelujah Anasuya, and then Dr. Ivy, and from Reverend Retta one last time. All right, take it away, brother.
takes the beautiful unknown that somehow makes you feel you're home again, finally home again. And there's no longer any doubt what the mystery's about for you, or what you should do. 'Cause if you lead with your heart, it's the one thing you can trust, to always come from love, and it will shine right through the dark, like a northern star to show you what is true. You'll never lose if only you lead with your heart.
We
Going to
love you,
brave.
Bashar.
Thank you, beautiful, beautiful, beloved brother. Thank you. We're going to go to each of you for a chance to share, but I want to read something. I'm going to keep it on gallery view because I just love seeing everyone right now. And this is in the chat box, and this is from Heidi. Heidi writes, I apologize if I hurt anyone's feelings. I've experienced and still experience a great deal of grief and trauma in my life, but I am committed to healing. In these times, so much information is flying around. And as was said earlier, there's so much light right now. And in the presence of this light, things are being revealed that we didn't know before. I am open to learn truths as we go through various rabbit holes. I'm not saying that all that is being revealed is truth, but if we can't share what we are learning or what we're hearing or what we're experiencing in a safe place, and there's judgment and hatred directed toward a person who's sharing their experiences, then how can we call ourselves a global peace tribe? So thank you, Heidi. Thank you. And this is a safe place for us to express ourselves. Let's always remember that if we hear something that's different from what we believe, we're not going to ever attack that person. The beautiful thing to say is, I'm feeling confused. When I hear you say there's no Holocaust, I'm confused because I know family members or I have had this experience. It's a wonderful way when we hear something that's different than what we know or to believe to acknowledge, wow, I find that very confusing, right? Now we're not making that person wrong. So thank you, Heidi, for your courage to express that. And thank you, Dr. Marty, for also kind of, getting us on the right track. And I'm gonna spotlight you, Marty. Put up your one more time. What do we want to do when we get triggered? We want to stop. Take a breath, just like Reverend Retta helped us to do, and think. Absolutely. Thank you. All right. So we're going to give each of our wonderful primary presenters a chance to express themselves. And I'm going to go just in the same order I did before, but there's no particular order. I love and respect each and every one of you. Pepper Dellums, the camera is on you, my beloved friend.
Thank you, my beautiful love. So I will address a bit of what you've just spoken, and with the Heidi situation, I appreciate your words, Heidi. I, however, don't believe that facts are a belief system. I think it's very important for each and every person to educate themselves. I believe there's enough literature, history, documentation, and people. One of the things that we need to do as a body of humanity, if we don't have an opportunity to travel, we have an opportunity to speak with others. Learning about who we are and opening up and broadening your horizons in terms of who you bring into your life will be able to speak truth and value so that it doesn't become embracing diverse people in a diverse nation will allow you to hear the stories and bring us closer together. And I think this is one of the terrifying things about the Department of Education, being dismantled and the misinformation around that. But as an educator, I think one of the things that I want to close with is that we give each other a seed. And I'm now understanding that a lot of what it is that we have discussed are things that people have never heard. And of course, that says because our history is not being told, our present, our past, or our now. But I want to share two beautiful things about our history that maybe people don't know. I just finished writing a new film, and because of Heidi's comment and Scott's response and Reverend Retta, what I'm hearing is that a lack of our knowing is what leaves us in the dark. So perhaps putting a little flashlight on it. And part of the screenplay that I'm writing right now, I was addressing the Underground Railroad and addressing how those things have adopted themselves into how we walk through life today. One of the aspects that I wanted to ask, and you can put your hands up, who here knows about the Underground Railroad quilts? Who knows how the Underground Railroad worked and how we got through and out? Okay, this is great. So a number of people did not put their hands up, and people actually believed that it was a railroad. It wasn't a railroad. They were people called commanders. They were the Quakers. They were Native Americans. They were runaway slaves. And they would find each other on a path, and we found our way through because we were forced to not be able to read or write. So illiteracy left symbolism had to be the way to find our way through. So through songs, Wade in the Water, these Negro spirituals that you've heard, these were messages. They were coded. Wade in the water means go through this certain body of water to find your way through. We had something called Underground Railroad quilts, and in each square of the quilt, there were pictures that were sewn in that would hang. The Quakers and others would hang them on paths. If you saw a house, it meant there's a house that's safe to go to. If you saw two wedding rings together, it meant take off your shackles and your chains so they don't know that you've run away. If you see a bird, it says that means go north. If you see a paw print on a quilt, it means follow animal trails for food and safety. And our braided hair, when you see African American women, girls, and men with braids in their hair, and the schools and workforces say this is an inappropriate hairdo, we want you to, you can't wear braids in school, you can't do any of this. I don't think you understand what braids mean to African American people. Our braids are not a hairdo. Our braids were also a roadmap. All cornrows and braids are patterns. They were patterns. Zigzags mean that you have to go on a zigzag path because there are dogs or other creatures that are out there tracking you. So when you see people that have braids in their hair, the patterns in their hair are a representation of our freedom. They're a reminder that we have a message one to another to say we are still on our way to freedom. Just so you understand what that means. And having this beautiful talk with Marty today, when people say, why is it that people of color don't like people touching their hair? Because the crown of our being, as Dr. Marty also pointed out, we had to hide tools, food, safety, knives, things within those braids so that we could survive that passage to freedom. So when you see a person of color and they're wearing braids, I want you to understand that what you're seeing is someone representing, as a reminder, our road to freedom. It's sort of like when you see a person wearing a chai, the fifth letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It means grace. So once we learn from one another and we understand our history, we understand our symbolism, we have a much greater embrace of our humanity. And then our beauty sort of awakens itself and we can truly become that Garden of Eden one to another. So I thank you, Scott, for this ability to come on. I thank you to all of our beautiful family here for allowing us to be passionate and sad and angry and frustrated because somehow we don't know where we get to get our voice out and say, this is what's real and what's happening. It's not in the news. It's not being taught, but we live it every day. And God bless all all of you for allowing us to pour it into your laps, because we know your hearts are so big that you can hold it. And we will be here to hold that for all of you as well, because each and every one of us is walking through some traverse fire. And let's all be the buckets of water on the other end to help one another put those fires out. As women, if we're in an illness, if we're Jewish or Native or Hispanic or Black or going through domestic violence, whatever it is, we're all traversing something. So thank you for allowing us to traverse, and we will be there to hold you up as well through your beautiful life journey. And God bless all of you.
Thank you, Piper. And people are asking, let's have this soon again on a Saturday night. So I'm just going to announce now that on Saturday night, March 1st, that's about 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks from this Saturday, will be a part 2 of this conversation that we've began tonight. And I will work with Piper and Marty and Anasuya and Reverend Retta and our ACE family in determining what you want to share that evening. So Saturday night, March 1st, put it in your calendars. If you're available, will be part 2. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Marty.
Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the waters. Messaging, stories, lives at risk, doing any and everything that we can do to just stay alive. Wade in the water, children. Release and put your baby in the water and pray that it floats to the other side, and God is going to trouble the waters. God will determine if that baby will live or die in the waters. No one has given anyone else life, so no one has the right to give anyone death. That choice is made by a higher power. It is important now more than ever that we hear each other. So this is the time for listening. And as I stated earlier in a space, not with your ears. I need you to hear me with your heart. Do you have the ability to listen to me with your heart? Because if you are listening with your heart, those things that we hear with our ears that's in the world, when we read certain things that's in writing, and when we see certain things on social media, you will rebuke those things because you know it's not truth. We can no longer make excuses for you not knowing us. We've been here with you way too long. So if you don't know me by now, you'll never, ever know me. And that's another song for another day. I am willing to respectfully walk with you to do the work. I will not walk behind you, and I will not walk in front of you, but I am willing to walk with you. And I pray that after today, you are willing to walk with me. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the waters. Thank you.
And I take a moment to just direct everybody to the Ungun Institute. This is Marty's wonderful institute. We did an entire show on what Marty's doing, and she had some of her colleagues. I'll find that link and put it in the chat box. But Marty, is there anything you'd like to say about your work with Ungun and how people can get ungunned through you, what that means?
Well, thank you, Scott. I would just like to offer and ask that if this is something that you're interested in knowing more about the work that I do, I am, along with my sisters, Piper and Dr. Ivy, we have decided after today to come together to make all of our work be accessible and available. And the day that we are choosing to do this will be February the 28th. And I believe that Dr. Ivy probably has a flyer that we can send over to you, Scott, to be highlighted. We believe that it is important that we walk the walk as well as talk the talk. So we don't want to just keep saying to individuals that it's important for us to collectively come together and we not start with ourselves. So we're going to invite each and every last one of you all on February 28th to come and be on a Zoom with us. And you will find out more about Ungun Institute. You will hear more from Dr. Ivy and her amazing sound healing. You will hear more from Piper in the stories that she tells. It is my hope that even after each of these sessions that it will inspire Piper to even write something that we can take to film, and eventually we will have this pool of work that we can release all over the world. They cannot stop our creativity. I don't care what they do. That's something we're born with. My husband says all the time, Marty, you're over the top. I said, no, you're under the bottom. I need you to meet me halfway. So I'm just going to say that to all of you all. We are who we are. This is where we show up unapologetically. We show up with love. We show up with the opportunity to embrace and to create with you. And I invite you not to just be a part of Ungun Institute in the work that we do to help disarm trauma and help individuals heal. But I also would like to personally invite you, if you are in the area on March the 15th, Women's International Month, I will be performing at the United Nations, my one woman show where I play 7 generations that's in my family dealing with generational trauma. So come and embrace and be a part of an opportunity to have an interactive experience and meet me in person. So I would love for that to happen.
Where
And
is that going to be, Marty, on March
this is
15th?
March 15th at Pier 57 in New York for Women's International Month, and I'm performing for the United Nations. And I would love if you are in the area or know someone in that area to please come out and be a part of the change.
Thank you. And what time on February 28th?
Well, I
Okay.
think, wait, there's one thing
Piper's
she
going to
forgot
share
to
that.
say about February 28th. The reason we chose that day is there's a beautiful, I'm going to say a young man, he's probably like a few years older than me, but there on Instagram and social media, who has started something called the Economic Blackout Day. And probably a lot of you have heard about it, which is February 28th. It is happening now all over the world. He started it as like a simple movement that now has probably close to 500,000 people around the globe, who are fighting for all of our human rights and justice because of what is going on in these United States. So this is for the children, for humanity, for the environment, for women, for all rights and justices. And because DEI was removed from all of these stores like Target and Walmart and all of the stores that are funneling money into this Project 2025, Home Depot. God, there's so many of them. But Economic Blackout Day is, they're asking everyone around the globe to make not one purchase on that day, do not purchase anything unless it is mandatory. And if you're going to purchase, do not purchase from any other places outside of places like Costco, stores that are in alignment and supporting all of the efforts of those that are being oppressed at this time. But they really want to make an impact on the world, on our economic system, by blacking out purchases on that day, predominantly Amazon, Target, all of those institutions that are putting a lot of money and energy
Okay.
into this global thing. So
Thank you, Piper.
yeah,
And I saw that it's 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. What time zone? Dr. Ivy, you need to unmute, please.
It's the Eastern Standard.
Okay, so 4
time.
p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern time, which is 1 p.m. to 4 or 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. here on West Coast.
But don't spend money all day, not just that window of time. Like
Yeah, no,
all
I'm just
day,
putting
don't
yeah,
spend a dime.
not a dime that day, and I'm just putting it.
that's why
Yeah.
we're doing this. We're trying to we know people aren't going to be spending, so that we're trying to say the new currency that we're going to bring forth that day is harmony, music, peace, meditation. Like, let's spend our currency on love and something beautiful,
Great.
to keep people's minds off of the distraction of consumerism.
Well, please, we'll talk about it privately because I would love to broadcast it out to my entire network that day, of course. All right, it is Hallelujah Anasuya's time to offer you thoughts.
Thank you. Just gotta take a deep breath. Ooh. So much beauty and wisdom has been shared. So much has been shared, along with passion and tears and pain and grief. So the human experience has been shared. Here together in this sacred circle, we are brothers and sisters. Who were born and have prepared all of our lives with our experiences, with our traumas, with our heartaches, with our accomplishments, our joys and triumphs. All of those, all of our journeys have prepared us for this time. We need to call upon all of our experiences now to guide us and strengthen us, and to remind us we have everything we need in us to rise and be the change we say we want. You can say it and you can think it, but if we don't take action, it's not real. And we have everything we need to take the actions that are needed. We have all that we need in our heart to say what's needed, even if no one else in the room believes you or agrees with you. We have everything we need to boycott and hold our money back from organizations committed to doing harm to so many people. Not just businesses that sell goods, but gas company, car companies. I mean, all kinds of companies are doing harm intentionally. We can do something about that. We can stop funding them and giving them the power to do more harm. We have everything we need. And what we don't have, we have to turn to one another and say, show me, help me, push me, encourage me, embolden me, cry with me, grieve with me. Because we have to see we are not alone in this. We have to recognize that we are really not alone in thinking injustices can be made right. We can't get to thinking it's too much, they're too powerful, it's too many of them. They have all the keys, they have the House, the Senate, the Congress, they have the Supreme Court. We can't think like that. We have to think we are enough. We are enough right now. We are enough right now to make the difference, to be the change, to give the love when people are hurting, to give laughter when people are grieving. We are the ones to give the love. And that love could be taking food to the homeless because whatever was in place to help them is going. There are so many vulnerable people in our communities. And they might have been invisible to you up until now. Choose to see them. Choose to see the children who are crying because they don't have enough to eat. They're not saying anything. They're not begging for food, but choose to see them. Choose to see the elders who may have to choose between heat and food. Find out who needs what. Because we really are enough. The rapidity, oh no, I think the rapidness, the rapidness that the current administration is unleashing their war on humanity is designed on purpose to numb us. It's designed to numb us and scare us and terrorize us and force us into silence and force us into me against them. I got to keep me safe. I can't worry about those people. I got to take care of me. It's designed to have people hide in their homes and be quiet and not speak out and not say anything. There's students right now who came to school and are afraid to protest and say anything because of the way they were horribly treated by their university when they stood up for Gaza or Black Lives Matter or Stop Asian Hate. Whatever they stood up for, they got punished. Many lost their scholarships. Many lost the ability to go to school. There are students who are terrified right now. Reach out to them. We really are enough to say together, excuse me, together we can do this, but we have to see these people, the others. We have to see them and let them know you're not other to me. You are me. I am you. You could be my child. You could be my grandmother. You could be my sister. You could be my brother. You could be my best friend. We have to choose to see people because that is the beginning of humanizing those who have been dehumanized, those who've been invalidated, those whose lives have been stripped. The validity of our lives have been stripped from us. You can see us and you can say, I see you. What do you need? What do you need in this moment? You can be that person. I'm choosing to be that person. Ooh. Which is why I'm here tonight. So thank you all for being willing to stay to the end of this very challenging conversation, but necessary. I'm so thrilled to see the numbers stay consistent the whole time. That not one person said, "Ooh, this is too hot, I'm out of here," as I've seen on so many other calls. So I just thank you so much for the courage you have. But please multiply yourselves. For every one of you that's here, the next time we have this kind of conversation, bring 4 more people. Bring 5. That way you have people around you who are supporting you staying in this conversation and you staying courageous. And you're going to help them stay courageous. We need everyone on deck, all hands on deck. So please, remember you are the love that we need. You can be stingy with it and say, no, I'm only going to give it to people I know I'm safe with. And that's a form of safety, and I get it. But I'm inviting you, as everyone on this panel is inviting you, to love bigger, to love bigger and wider and more courageously, because it's going to take a lot of courage to love even those people who don't think like us. We have to love them too. Love bigger. Let love lead. Thank you.
Thank you. Hallelujah, Anasuya. And I put it in the chat box. She has a lot of wonderful offerings. You can find her on Linktree. I think by now most everybody understands about Linktree, LINKTR period EE/Hallelujah Anasuya. And we're going to be doing a special show on March 15th dedicated to Hallelujah Anasuya. So Saturday night, March 1st, we will continue this conversation. And on Saturday night, March 15th, we'll continue it with a special focus on Hallelujah Anasuya. Thank you, my dear friend. And I'm not going to go to she has many names. I love all the different names of this wonderful woman. Dr. Mama Ivy, Reverend Shadia, the woman who brings us some of our most favorite sound healing. And she, by many, many names, the spotlight is on you, my friend.
So I am Okolo Shadia Tahira Nzinga Mjara Bosu. Okolo Shadia Tahira. All of those are my names that I've received over the years in various places around the world, and I embrace them all. And I'm whoever you know me to be. That's how it goes. But I'm just so grateful for this opportunity. And I'm thinking closure, what I would like to leave is to invite everyone that is on this call to join a project that I'm working on, that my husband and I have with our company, Youth and Families in Crisis. And we specialize in restorative justice, and we go into communities and resolving conflict and harm that is going on in the communities. And we call this particular program the Underground Circles of Hope and Healing. And what we do is sponsor community conversations. And it's a way to do it. There's some training involved in it, but if you have an interest, I'm getting ready to put in the chat a way to do this. You identify the community that you want to have a conversation like this with. You select the circle practice model. Will it be face to face or will it be on Zoom? And then you select 3 to 4 questions for the community. And then there are some basic questions that are used in restorative justice around addressing harm and building relationships. So the questions for the community conversation are related to the human condition and current status of America, or whatever the thought is that you want to create. How do you open the space for new information and for being educated in areas that you may not be aware of? We use the restorative justice peace circle practice. There are questions: what happened? What were you thinking at the time? Who was affected by what happened? And what do you think needs to be done to make things right? So I'm getting ready to just send that right through the chat. So I'm encouraging you to host a circle of hope and healing community conversation where you can actually have a real conversation about what is going on in America. They've made it very clear to us. I think the distraction is to make it appear as if it's about a black and a white issue.
Right.
But it is about humanity. They're talking about all of us. No one should feel excluded, especially since now Elon Musk has access to all of our financial and medical information. Why do they need that? So we have to have a very real conversation. And I'm encouraging you to use a restorative justice circle, peace circle practice. Maybe you just do it with your family, or you do it with your friends, Or maybe you're connected with an organization that you would like to encourage them to have a community conversation about the condition of America so that we can get the truth, because it's clear it's not coming through your television set. That's clear. So we are intuitively connected. We feel the Spirit of God. We know the divinity is real, and we can communicate with one another in that way. Everyone has not reached that same level of awareness and enlightenment. So perhaps we can use our energy, our light, to enlighten in the community conversation restorative circle. This is what I'm asking for each and every person to consider. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mama Ivy Shadia, beloved friend, she of many names. You know, my family, when my grandfather came over, his name was Nicholas Alexandrovich Katamurjanopoulos. I thought that was long, but you have surpassed my great grandfather's there. I love you so much. And of
Love you
course,
back.
we will, I will do everything I can to support what you're doing on February 28th. Let's get it out to my network. Let's make sure we get it out to the Sign Network. Yeah, we're going to make that happen. Thank you. A couple things people are asking. For those of you, most everybody can save the chat. Of course, I'm saving it. If any of you have trouble saving the chat and you want it, send me a message on cell phone text, email, or Facebook Messenger. And all of you have at least one of those ways of reaching me. We are going to go to Reverend Retta. There she is.
Yeah, here I am. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. This night has been extraordinary. I'm very grateful to be here. So, what I want to say, I want to end with is I talk a lot about love. That is my ministry, that's my focus. But I want to say, I don't want you to forget about the hard things spoken on this call tonight. I want you to grow your heart around the capacity to hold on to what you heard. Many folks on this call might be able to feel heavy now, get off this call, and go back to whatever you were doing before. Like, you don't have to hold it. I implore you, to keep leaning into what you heard. And I think sometimes it can be overwhelming to hear so much. So even if there's one piece that just really speaks to your heart, hold it, hold on to it. As so many have mentioned, learn about it, talk about it, keep it in your awareness, if you will. That would be a thing that I would ask of you. And a very quick reminder of the spiritual practice. That one thing you remember, bring it into your awareness. Allow your heart to break. Keep breathing into it. At the same time, I want you to start practicing remembering you are made of stars. You're beloved of an eternal that has no end, or however you might think of something bigger than yourself. Like to hold what is challenging and hard alongside an eternal truth about love. So we start growing ourselves into the capacity to stay in these conversations from a spiritual perspective. And the other practice is cry with somebody. Cry, the ugly boogers everywhere, snot cried. Find somebody you can really get down there. I teach people who don't easily do it, how to wail, right? In my grief circles, that get in touch with the grief that's down there in the gut, often stuck. Get in touch with it so that it loosens up your access to your joy as well. I want to end with this poem. I'm writing a poem a day. And this was written, I think, last week. It's called This is How I Medicine. Our bodies are holy. We drink from an eternal holy well, remembering who we are. Our hearts are sacred. We connect to the earth, her pulse, our heartbeat, and we remember. Our minds are miraculous matrices. We perceive right up to the edge of what we can know, and we remember. Our song is an extension of the everlasting. We intone the path forward, one deep breath and stanza at a time, and we remember. Community is our alchemical connector. We gather and expand our remembering. Care for each other comes out of this holy water. Drink as needed. Ashe.
Ashe, I'm going to bring all of our presenters up one more time. We've got a couple more things we're going to do before the show ends, but I want to bring up our wonderful presenters and just thank these 5 extraordinary women, all of whom are part of Artists Catalyzing Evolution. And since we are talking about Artists Catalyzing Evolution, I want to acknowledge the mama of Artists Catalyzing Evolution, Kristen Hoffman. She is who brought all these artists together. So thank you, Kristen. I hope you are a happy den mother tonight.
I feel so grateful. Gratitude is the word, and that I'm feeling that big. I'm loving bigger as a result, as Anasuya called us into. I'm loving bigger because of this night, and I'm so proud of the fact that this was birthed today, and you all stepped up so powerfully to lead and guide us with so much love and wisdom and care. And Scott, thank you for also just Scott always trusts in the way with spontaneity, and he sees the path that wants to be birthed. And I just celebrate you as well, Scott. Thank you for just seeing what was being birthed and saying yes, and just wow. Thank you all so much.
Beautiful. And there's one more member of Artists Catalyzing Evolution who's with us tonight, and that's Charles Gibbs. And Mr. Gibbs is going to read a poem, and then we will go to Omashar for a closing song.
And I think Gary's here as well. I know. Just to call his name out. We love you, Gary.
I just have to say, I feel so honored to be in the presence of this greatness. I am so moved by what has happened and this spontaneous bonfire of justice and clarity and truth and transparency and chutzpah. Thank you, God, for being the ones who showed up, because this is what it's about. This is what's going to move mountains. This is actually the center of the cyclone. I love you all. Thank you.
And we had our largest audience for a Wednesday night show that we've had in a long time. A show that at 10 o'clock this morning, I had no idea was going to happen. So it does show how community can come together in a beautiful and a powerful way. And with that, I'm going to put the pen on Mr. Gibbs.
Thank you, Scott. And I just want to thank my 5 beautiful sisters for your endurance, your resilience, for coming through with so much heart, so much vision, so much caring about the whole world, and so much fierce determination to have your stories heard. Please continue and know that we're with you. This poem came up for me as I was listening to you. It's called I Want to Weep. I want to weep at least a little each day to remember I am human, and the earth community's broken heart is my heart. Then all paralyzing despair washed away in my weeping, to ask what acts of healing and compassion, what acts of healing and compassion our broken-hearted earth community calls forth from me, from us today.
Thank you. Let's all give Charles some appreciation. And I actually, there's such a perfect flow here. I want to build on top of Charles's poem about pain and remind everybody of Reverend Rutta's request for us to all remember something that may have been painful or uncomfortable. So I'm going to ask during our final few minutes while Omashar plays for people to put in the chat box, what's one thing you learned today? Or one takeaway. When I'm coaching, I always ask my clients, what's at least one takeaway from our time together tonight? So what's a takeaway? Something you've learned, maybe a painful statistic, maybe one of the things you heard Piper share about the Congo, or maybe something you learned about the Underground Railroad. But I'd love for people to put in the chat box at least one takeaway, one thing that they gained from tonight. And that helps us to remember, because so much was expressed, and that helps us to remember. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to beloved Omashar.
Nothing in my life's the same. It seems my world is falling into the dust that gave it birth. Empty feelings find me deep in contemplation, waiting for the rise of Mother Earth. And we all know what we've come here for, and we all feel that our hearts are true, and together we will make it home, and we'll trust to love once more. Walking through these fields of fear that bid for my attention, I don't live here anymore. I surrender to the flow that gives me new direction. All there is to do is trust and fly. We all know what we've come here for, and we all feel that our hearts are true, and together we will make it home, and we'll trust to love once more.
He has such a gift for choosing the perfect songs with the perfect lyrics
Yes.
for the evening. It's you're a genius in your artistry and in your choice making, I'm sure.
Yes. 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 Yes.
What a beautiful, beautiful sharing tonight. I am so honored to be amongst this really lively, absolutely inspiring, not discussion, just expose. There's no words for it. It's just thank you for being amongst us all. Thank you.
Thank you. And please, everybody, join us on Saturday night. Of course, I'm sure we'll be here. Gary Melkin, my co-host, Sandra Buffington. Imagine she lost her home of 15 years in a fire 6 weeks ago. And she's co-hosting the show on love, grief, and resilience. Bethany Grace, you'll remember her. She's an amazing violinist. Talk about resilience. She had a daughter who was murdered. Lori and Jeff are also very powerful presenters. Hope Fitzgerald. It's going to be a powerful show. And it's so amazing that Reverend Retta spoke about the importance of grief. And here we have a show already scheduled, already set up for Saturday night, where that's such a big part of the topic: love, grief, and resilience. So please do join us on Saturday night. And thank you, everybody. Again, thank you, all of our presenters. And thank you, everybody, for coming in. We had an amazing show, and all that was written in the chat box.
I
Thank
need
you.
to say something to you, Scott.
Okay.
I want to say that for you to move with this level of alacrity and fluidity and dedication to the truth, it is such a gift to us that you could, on a dime, create something that allows for people to be able to vent to the level of truth that happened. And I just want to acknowledge what a gift you are to all of us, that you would be able to move so quickly and to create a place where this kind of magic can happen. Blessings on you, my friend.
Yes.
Thank you. And let's use this as an example of when, I get the phone, the text, we can't do your show tonight, right? Something more important needed to happen. And so let's just remember that when the next time, for any of you watching, when you get a shocking, oh, really? That's been taken away? But that's not happening? Then pivot. What wants to happen here? What wants to happen here? And then reach out to your friends. It started with me at the ACE meeting. I was feeling kind of shy, and there was a part of me that was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't tell people I don't have a show tonight, blah, blah, blah. But I trusted my friends. I trusted the ACE community, and I brought it up, and look at what happened. So let's look at the steps. We have to accept a change. We have to ask what wants to happen here. We have to ask for support, reach out to friends, and then let them come forward. So may that be a modeling for all of us, because we're all going to have certain things taken away from us. We're all seeing a lot of change. It's a time of transformation. So this was a wonderful example for all of us to learn from. And
I had a downpour. I just want to, and I think for every single one of us from our ancestors. So I wrote it really fast, and it just says, from every corner of the earth, the scattered ones found their way home, not to a place of borders, but to a place of belonging. The wisdom buried deep in the bones of the elders were reborn, and the wonder and awe returned like a great river, finding its path back to the sea. So, my children, listen to the wind. It carries the songs of those who walk the earth once more. They are home. And one day when your time comes, you will walk with them again. So I don't know, I'm assuming it was an elder or God speaking it, and I hope that that has spoken to someone. So
Pepper, thank you. Last thing, we've said it many times on this show, but this is a perfect example and time to remember it. A caterpillar forges and eats way too much. It stuffs itself to death and it dies. And as it dies, it turns into this soup of all the food that it stuffed itself with. And in that goo are imaginal cells. And one imaginal cell is Jerry Anderson, and one imaginal cell is Omashar, and Bridget, and Lynn, and Gary, and all the different imaginal cells. And they find each other, and they become a butterfly. And we are the imaginal cells of an awakening world, of a global peace tribe, and there's so many other, of Unity Earth, of Soul Search, of all of the different organizations that are part of who we are. We're all coming together, finding each other, supporting each other. You know, I think Anasuya asked, you know, who will be there to support? We all need to support each other. And no, it's not just a Black thing or a woman thing or a Trump versus the world or an Elon Musk thing. It's so much bigger than that. But we all need to come together. And so if you need help, put it in the chat box. Ask for help. Ask for support. This morning, I was a little stuck. I asked for support. And look at what a beautiful thing took place. So let's all learn from that.
So,
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to go to gallery view for us to all just see these beautiful members of our Global Peace Tribe. So many beautiful beings. Love each and every one of you, and I hope to see you all on Saturday night.